And you're ready?
All right, today is Monday, January 28th, 2019. This is the Facilities Committee meeting. Those in attendance are Mr. Rathgab,
Curtis Fleming.
Kathy Haynes.
Mike Wolf.
Brett Cooper.
Lawrence Fall. Aaron Stores.
Kevin Strobel.
Jamie Zildur.
and we have some members of...
Nate Halter.
Just want to say your name.
Robert Myers.
Denise Harder.
Chris Swinda. White Bear.
All right, thank you all for attendance. We're going to modify the agenda a little bit until Casey gets here. So we'll do the ABM update first.
This is the same as last time, just a brief kind of overview of a few things that's been happening in the district. Just other stuff we can go through in more detail if we want, or and these are very limited pictures, and there's many more things going on. So, that was the easiest way to do it, rather than hand out multiple documents.
Is there any... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, it's just an update on staffing. I know we talked about that last time we were here. So we're only down like a few people custodial-wise. We're much better than we were a couple months ago. We just hired a new grounds guy, so we'll be one more person will be fully staffed on grounds. We won't need as much mowing. We'll have people stationed at each in each area, kind of like to keep people on both sides of the river, kind of reporting into the high school every time, every day. That covers the high school and grounds. We talked about that before, and the visibility's there. We can catch all the little details on grounds. Custodial at the high school is always kind of ongoing. It's a big building, it's a lot of work, so we're still working on that kind of stuff. Terrazzo has been a process throughout the entire 2 years almost that I've been here. We've made a lot of attempts to see what works. I think we finally narrowed it down to using the diamond pad system, where I dry burnish. It wears the wax down, and we're able to go behind with a heavy-duty stripper and actually cut through 3 layers of wax rather than 1 or so at a time. That system would work. Would take 1 day a week. It would take about 56 days to totally strip the terrazzo. So that's something we're trying to work on, just an accomplishment, something like the cafeteria where we stripped over the summer all the way down to the top. That's kind of my personal thing out there also.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of stuff going on with maintenance. There was a lot of issues at the high school also with the heating system. We've been working on that. I was there Saturday with the plumbers, drenched in liquid. So that was fun. Then we were redoing the valves, the O-rings in the valves. Issue with that is with students in the building during the day, we're having leaks where it's just flooding and dropping ceiling tiles all of a sudden. So we're trying to keep an eye on that, especially during the day, and clean up as quickly as possible. Those things can be dangerous if somebody's walking under them. And we'll probably have to go through and just replace all the O-rings. We'll talk to Casey, see what he wants to do about that. Otherwise, grounds are working inside now. There's not a lot to do outside.
I'm sorry, on that,
Sure.
on the rings, is that like a maintenance thing you do every so many years so you don't get to where they're breaking?
It's going to be a maintenance thing now because of the issues that we've been having. We'll have to put it on some sort of schedule. We'll talk to Casey and see what he wants to do. That way we can go through. If they've lasted, I don't know, 10 years at this point, then next time before 10 years, you should probably replace them again. Just go through and replace them. The valves unscrew, so the worst part is draining the system. You have to drain the entire building, almost. It depends on what section you're working in, and that's the biggest thing with that. But as far as grounds, they're working inside, moving things, whatever needs to be moved. Not really a lot going on outside as far as grounds goes.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, thank you for the report and the information. Anything else you want to highlight? If not, thank you.
I do have a question about the middle school.
Yep.
A prominent employee, why would you move them? I mean,
Good
it's
question.
just one of them questions, like if they're no good in one building, why would you move them to another
It-
building just to be no good there?
The entire thing, they could have had problems with employees at the middle school. There could be many factors, not just one
Is that
problem.
what you think? Are you saying that's what happened? I happen to know more about this particular situation.
Right.
Just because I was there over the weekend, 2 weekends before, so I knew about this, and so.
Right.
Are you saying it was the other employees that were the problem there? Or
I think it was the combination of the other employees and that employee. I think when certain people get on a certain route, it's just too much work. And I hate to just, I like to motivate. I hate to just let people go quickly when they're done. When they're not, they could be better, and you could always up-train. And they come to work every day. That's the most important part is having people that show up every day. So I do try to motivate. I hate to just.
I wasn't second guessing you.
Oh, I
I
know.
just it was
Absolutely.
one of the
Yeah.
questions that begged to be asked.
And she's doing very well at Amity. So I moved her on the smaller route. It's the same type of route, not as much responsibility with the facilities use, the gym area, the sports. And I think that's what was kind of getting her, was trying to keep up with that, the locker rooms and everything else. Now she has a small route with hall floors and just taking care of the gym.
Gotcha.
So that works better for her.
Quick question too, what is ground staff move food at
We've been moving the food for the kitchen ever since this came up from before. So at times we'll move, when they get an order in, the kitchen nutrition group, we'll
Well,
move,
delivery.
they get a delivery and we'll move the food around in the district. And they pick up the items for food banks.
So they get a consolidated delivery to one location and not to all the locations?
They get deliveries at every location, I believe, but at times they need to move 2 bags of cheese.
So one kitchen is out something they need to
Correct.
get it, okay.
Yeah, and that's every week though. That's not something that, so I'm not 100% sure about where they get deliveries, but I know I move food every week, Grounds moves food every week, and in the food bank we have. That's just one of the things that keeps them busy too.
I guess is that a question that's something that they should do or not?
Yes, it's part of their contract.
Part of the contract?
Yes. To move packages, food-based stuff, it is part of the contract.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, we'll have Mr. Spores give us an update on the district-wide high school public art approval,
So I didn't want to burn down a lot of trees, so I emailed you guys a PDF version of this packet. It has the colorful presentation that the students presented to me and Mr. McKnight. Basically, it's what we've always seen. They want to do the murals, different quotes and different words, and do like highlights on different words, creativity for one. There wasn't anything in the presentation that myself, Mr. McKnight, or Mr. Blankenbiller, who have already looked it over, saw a problem with things that we've already approved and done in the past. The painting is all, and the murals are all pretty much designed to go on the walls. There's no doors this year like there's been in the past. Nothing really that we had to really change. One of the murals was going to use tape on the wall. They were going to put strips of different colored tape. So that was one of the things that we suggested in the meeting. It just be painted on. Use different color stripes of paint to make the mural instead of tape, which was their original design idea. So in the packet I have, Mrs. Cornish had sent me an update from that group that presented that mural with the tape, with the painted version. They wanted to add a few words. Creativity takes coverage. You know, nothing out of the ordinary from years past, but it was, you know, coming to you guys to just get final approval. I have one copy of the color version, if you guys don't remember. Or any questions on what you saw?
I think it's, as long as we're consistent with what we've done in the past. And
Yeah.
I know when we had music events up there, we'd have a lot of the visiting school kids come up there and they'd be looking, reading what was there.
Yeah.
And many of them were, pretty inspirational. So I thought it was always a good idea. So,
Yeah, and they're in all different locations now. We're not getting close to any of the previous ones that are there. There's some that are going down in the annex and wings and hallways that don't have one yet. So
At what point will the old ones be phased out for new ones?
We phased out, Mrs. Schreiner's class phased out one last year in the B wing across from B 5 and 6. And it was just because it was dated. And it was, they had a better idea for that wing. So that's already been completed. That was on last year's approval. Sometimes they get various things, you know, if it needs to be faded out. Some of them are lasting based on what they are. But some of these too are going to go in areas where there isn't one at all for a while, for a good amount of space. So
All right. Any other comments from the board on, committee on that? That'll get voted on next month then? Or are you looking for that tonight?
if it could be tonight, that'd be great. They're doing the prep work for a lot of them now. The one in the cafeteria, the wall that the mural's going to be go on, it had some rough spots, so ABM had already prepped the wall for them.
Okay.
They fixed all the dings and holes from the chairs, and they've recoated it, and then they painted it, so that's fresh.
And that's
what
on
is
the,
it,
is that on the
two-tone
agenda
jamie? I
for
think it's
tonight?
white.
Is that on the agenda for tonight, do you know?
I don't think it is.
So that's,
It's
Usually for this, we just make a recommendation, you know,
okay.
just discuss it as a committee. And we said, yeah, we recommend it. It's non-controversial.
Okay.
I don't think we've ever had anyone have a problem.
No, there's
with it, so
nothing in
it's just-
here that.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that
It's all pretty basic stuff
Okay.
that we've seen in the past.
So it's up to you.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, me too.
So,
Okay.
any objections? All right, looks like the committee recommends
I
it.
will let them know.
All right, we'll let Casey continue to get ready. So we'll have, Lauren, there's a couple things you can discuss. First one would be the draft CMG RFP
Okay.
presentation.
The RFP in and of itself is basically the RFP that became the contract with the current vendor, except I have 3 items that I need recommendation from the committee and back to the board on, which we've been discussing in the past, and that is how many of each of the 3 categories, custodial, maintenance, and grounds, how many of each of those employees is going to return to Daniel Boone so as to establish the hours in the RFP. And what ground service requirements will be necessary for the former Optimus Field at the Birdsburg and the Amity Township Park, and what requirements of any type will be required if we lease BEC in any fashion to anyone. Those are the 3 things that I'm waiting on. Like I say, the RFP in and of itself is the services required is nothing really changed except in the labor that's going to be required, the hours that are going to be required. I had sent to, in an effort to help with the cost, if you will, of the labor and benefits, I had put together a spreadsheet that I had sent to, I think, 3 of you, Casey and Mike, and Mike was the chair, and then Aaron became the chair, I realized. So that's out there. So Casey's had that to play with. I know one day I was in his office and he was coming up with different scenarios. So that's what I'm looking for, is what adjustments are going to be made in the hours.
I guess we'd have to see what you're looking for staff-wise, so we can make those
Yeah, I had
adjustments.
sent that off to Lauren. You know, my thoughts are, you know, bringing back in-house to be 4 head custodians. Well, the wish list, I'm going to put it at that. Would be 4 head custodians, 3 maintenance, 1 ground supervisor, and then a helper. Would be ideal, and that helper would be the person that would fill in for a head custodian if they're out.
Okay.
You know, would kind of float around and then do odd jobs. Would be the guy to help the maintenance guys if they need a hand putting them a valve in or something. You know what I mean? Just kind of you know, assisting all people in the maintenance department. So with the spreadsheet Lauren had sent me, you know, I kind of threw in realistic hourly rates for that staff member, like an HVAC tech that was like 25, you know, electrician 23, 24, kind of, you know, trying to, you know, a little bit of the high end, and that's also with full health insurance as if they were married with a family. I think the cost is 22 or 23 grand, whatever it is. So at that rate, on a comparison to an outsourcing firm being at $30 an hour is what Lauren asked me to use. We were looking at about $120,000 adder over an outsourcing. And of course, all of that extra cost is on the maintenance side. At $30 an hour, it's like the $17, it's like $17.12 or something per hour is kind of an even wash.
Okay.
At the $30 rate, if that's what we're going to be charged by an outsourcing firm. So of course, the less they charge, the more savings it is the school district. You know, then there would be also, you know, there would be additional costs, and you would need an additional truck, 2 vans, kind of thing. So there would be some other vehicle costs to go with that. So you're looking probably another, and then however you work the arrangement out with the company we would use for the second shift cleaning services, there may be some custodial machines that would need to be purchased for everyday cleaning of hallways and cafeterias and that kind of stuff. Or if we can work it out with, you know, whatever contractor there is, that we could use their equipment. But your first shift custodians, you know, they're cleaning up throw up and they're cleaning up that kind of stuff. So most of it is mop buckets and that kind of stuff. But, you know, that's just kind of where we're, you know, it depending on what the roles will be, will definitely depend on what would have to be purchased equipment-wise on our end. Because we still had all the mop buckets and all the normal hand tools that were in the buildings are still in the buildings that, you know, the GCA's just been using that stuff, you know, so it's still there. It's still ours. I don't believe Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe they bought like every little mop bucket. I mean, that's just, they bought more the equipment, the wet dry vacs, floor scrubbers, and that kind of stuff. So, so there may be some ancillary equipment that would have to be purchased. So, and I haven't really dug on getting prices on those and everything, because I wasn't, you know, sure where you guys were headed and in your thought processes as well. But you know, an auto scrubber, if we buy a really nice auto scrubber, you're looking $9-10 grand. Pretty cheap one, you're looking $5,000-7,000. So
Wasn't there some here that got used?
we still have 2.
But they're not in really good condition now?
We would need to spend a couple $1,000s just to have them totally gone over. I would send them to the manufacturer. Your refurbishing costs are usually between $1,500 and about $3,000. They'll go over every O-ring, every bushing, and they'll just replace. They'll kind of rebuild it. All of ours are fairly low hours, but they've been sitting and not really, you know, taken care of the best in the last 2.5 to 3 years. So I'm just kind of, you know, I'm kind of, I don't want to say on hold, but I mean, a van, you know, I would just get the little Ford transit vans for the staff. You know, we don't need much more than that, so they're 17 to 20 grand. They would be 2-wheel drive. You know, we would still have the plowing done by a contractor. You know, the parking lots and driveways. You know, therefore we don't have to buy, you know, 4-wheel drive trucks with plows and lights and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my thoughts.
You guys have any questions for Casey regarding any of that, or Mr. Smith?
So you're going to present, I guess I understand what the goal is that you're going to present a proposal, like as if you were an outside company coming in to do this, and then we have the outside companies propose theirs, and you compare it that way. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. That's kind of what my thoughts were, you know, because there again, I don't know what those costs will be from the outsourcing firm until those quotes come in. So my savings numbers are going to be skewed because I'm going to use a flat fee just for comparison reasons.
Gotcha.
So, and I think, Lauren, we based it on 2,080 hours and 400 hours of overtime for each staff member. I think was the number we used. I'm sorry, I just don't have my stuff with me. I can't bring it up my phone.
It was 500
I had
hours.
500
Was it
in
500
my
hours?
initial
Okay.
scenario.
All right.
Yeah, 2,080, 40 times 52. So what you're recommending, Casey, then is downsizing the custodial by 4 and maintenance by 3.
Yeah, because
You're not doing anything with grounds.
I would want one grounds guy to do dragging in fields, lining fields, and that kind of stuff, and kind of being, on, that's the stuff that can get out of hand really quick if you have an outside contractor who's just a landscaper that's just gonna mow grass, kind of thing. So, there's a large,
Go ahead.
no, there's just a large investment with those fields. So you definitely want to maintain them correctly.
And is one guy going to be able to keep up with it?
With the helper, yes.
Okay.
And that's kind of why the helper needs to be there. On days where they have one or two games, not a problem. The days where we have 3, 4, 5 games plus a track meet kind of thing, and I even may pull a maintenance guy out on those days if it's really pushed, or I'll just jump in and help them for a couple hours to get it by. But that's very few and far between that we have that many. George tries to keep that schedule from being too nuts for that. So
what's the grounds person doing for
the grounds person would be doing all your field maintenance, and then they would be doing your pruning your trees, your pulling of your weeds and your flower beds, your mulching, all your normal, your cosmetic stuff around the schools, which is kind of what Mike Marino does now, when he's not dragging fields, because there again, that's the stuff that, they'll be touching up on those days where we had the rain the night before, games can't be played. Well, then they're in the flower beds and they're kind of cleaning up the cosmetics. And then during the winter, they would be assisting the maintenance staff, changing filters, moving stuff. And that. Yep.
So
Yep.
with the helper, could it just be a part-time summer or like fall?
Possibly,
fall,
and we would just have to see kind of how it works out.
or spring, fall, or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I would think, initially would be a full-time position, because there is just so much that truly needs to be done and kind of caught up on. I think we still would be using, all your mowing would be outsourced, that would still all be done by a contractor. But that normal kind of everyday stuff, we still have to have deliveries and that kind of stuff. So either we would require the outsourcing to have somebody available second shift to perform all deliveries, as long as we keep that in their contract, or we would have to have our in-house staff do the deliveries during the day. But all those deliveries can be done after hours.
What deliveries are we talking about?
If there's chairs needed, food, paper.
Okay, all the supplies that
yeah.
come to a central location
Yeah,
and, okay.
all the copy papers at the high school, so the business office will enter a work order. That work order is signed to a staff member. That staff member then delivers the paper. We no longer just have carte blanche paper allocation, if you want to call it that. So,
All right.
and I can detail that a little bit more. I'll kind of spell that out for each. And I kind of did that. I think I sent you, Lauren, the kind of the job descriptions, or I sent to somebody.
Yes.
I forget who I sent it to.
We think from the finance side, I'd want to know, all right, to deduct from the outsourcing contractors, this is what, I can see 220,000 by year 3 is what the cost is based on the spreadsheet, to see what the net increase to the district would be. Because we have to factor that in our five-year budget if we're looking to do that. And I'd also like to hear from, prospective contractors that are looking to do the custodial and other work. Do they feel that they could actually supply someone capable of doing the maintenance to the quality level that we expect? Because I don't know that it's always been consistent. That's just what I hear from different, mainly from the high school. But so I'd want to hear what their proposals are as well.
Any other comments on that item?
You could put your RFP out in 2 forms, both with and without, and compare your numbers when response comes back.
It'd be like a cafeteria plan, more or less. We pick out
Yeah,
what
and you can see both.
Do it that way.
because there's like, this is a decision, we can make a recommendation, but we can't make a decision, so.
My intent is.
And they're going to want to see both those numbers anyway.
Yeah, and I think
So it's just gonna
the
happen.
presentations should be made to the full board.
Yep.
When you say, so you break it out into where you have
What
two
their
different-
contract would look like with none of us having, the district having no employees, and then what that contract looks like if the district has the earmarked employees we're talking about.
What's the target date to start to change if you were to go with it?
July 1.
Just the start of the year?
Right, your current contract expires June 30.
Yeah.
We had this out by mid-March, early April, turn it around. That's basically the time frame we were on 3 years ago when we initially outsourced.
So we should really have everything for this buttoned up next meeting.
Correct.
So that we can get it in front of the board to get
Yes.
the RFP out, advertised in March.
Is it my other, so are you putting in there, are you going out to bid for maintenance and without maintenance?
Yes.
Or- So, because the way I recall, not all companies offer the maintenance piece, right?
That's correct.
Some only offer the custodial piece.
Correct.
So are you, we having 3 different RFPs or 2 different RFPs or?
We can do it with 3, or we could do it with 2.
I'm saying, because we might not get some quotes from companies who,
We want to give ones that have just custodial a chance to bid on just the custodial
Correct,
and see
yeah.
where the prices come in. Makes
Well, if
sense.
you're gonna do,
Might be more
a bid with
competitive
just
that way.
custodial though, you're gonna need to have a plan B for maintenance, right? Like,
Well,
Yeah, there'll be separate bids for that. Yeah.
the way the verbiage that we're actually using speaks to being able to submit a response, all-inclusive or individually. So we can do it. I don't have a paragraph in front of me.
Well,
That's
so
the way it's
that
written.
gives us a flexibility anyway. So just a matter of getting in front of the full board and getting
Right.
everyone's okay to send it out and
And I'm including in the RFP these job descriptions that Casey has prepared for all of these areas. That's much tighter, more detail than we did the last time.
Right. And that will help on the bidding as well.
Okay, and then as far as the fields, Casey responded last week. The field in Birdsboro will basically be during the varsity baseball season. And he spelled out requirements that the grounds portion would have to perform. And he's continuing to work with Amity Township Park, but we've included now that in the grounds requirements are all encompassing in Amity Township Park, rather than the prior language that said area surrounding the building, because that got a little sticky.
Okay.
The other buildings, no problem, but Amity, middle school was a little tougher. So we'll tighten that up with the requirements there. And then the other piece is how you want to handle leasing in the event that you do finalize a lease in BEC. What requirements, obviously from a mechanical or maintenance standpoint, we're going to want to handle the mechanical. We've already said that grounds we're going to include, am I correct, Casey? All areas of the grounds. So the custodial would basically be
On an as-needed basis.
the one that would need to be addressed. So we'll fine tune the language there. But aside from that, I'll put these together this week. I'll talk to Brian tonight. He's got the template that we're working from. And I'll have this for you at the, you're the last meeting. I'll get it out to you.
Okay.
We'll keep it moving.
You're on deck for the next 2 things on the agenda anyway,
I am.
Lauren. The BEC masonry work update from curtain wall design.
I think Mr. Strobel, thankfully, Mr. Strobel jumped in this morning because I wasn't getting a response from Curtin Wall, but we don't have a response tonight.
We don't have a response from him, but he did send, originally, he sent the observation condition. I think we should probably email that out to everybody. I think you have a copy of this as well.
Yeah, how far?
And overall, it wasn't the depth report that we had received originally. I still think that we should probably get bids before we make the
We
decision.
would need to get this.
But, and so that's what he was working on. And I like the guy a lot, but it just hasn't, follow-up just hasn't really been there. He flew, this, that, the other. There's been a million of reasons, but overall, he pretty much identified the things we talked about. When we walked around the bottom, there'd be some repointing that needs to be done. you could probably, all the joints needed to be replaced were the expansion joints, but he didn't feel the water penetration was really heavy in those areas. It had a lot to do with the system that was there, the HVAC system, not functioning properly, causing a lot of the dampness inside the building. He also felt that he did take a look at, and I believe he's going to provide a bid for where the crackage is happening, where the windows are sunk. It just has to be, he felt, again, without having somebody come in and do it, just from his perspective, that it could be easily remedied without having to tear the whole bottom out. The foundation's not moving. It doesn't appear that way to him. And so it would be something that would be remedied. They have to replace the window and whatnot, but it could be remedied properly. So that's the next step for them, is to try and get bids, and then we could get an RFP out for those things for ourselves. And so sealing the building was an option. He said he wasn't really sure if it's necessary, but there are things that we could put out there and say, we could potentially do that, but he doesn't really feel like there's a lot of water permeating the outside structure of the building, just in the areas where it's deteriorated. And there's some that's deteriorated. The bottom 4 feet's really deteriorated.
Expansion joints? Those
Expansion joints all need to be redone.
pulled out?
Mhm. And where all the relief steel was, that they wanted to rip all that out.
What about that one area where the bump outs are, or,
Not
down
a
that
problem.
first floor,
Nope.
where they covered up the weep holes?
Nope, there's nothing. When we were there, Casey, you remember, there was no evidence that there was a fair amount of water behind those walls, because it would be showing through. And when we were there, it was after recent rain, so it wasn't in really a bad situation there going on. All the weep holes are clogged, so they're, for the most part, there's a lot of them. So he did recommend, when we get the bid for that somebody could either come in and replace those or drill them out. There's things that they can do to remedy those, but not tear all that brickwork out, put all new flashing in and replace it. So I think it's going to be substantially less than what we originally recommended at $3 million or whatever it was. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's good.
The
and-
building, yeah, there's a lot of money that we can put in that building that don't have to be put in the outside. It's all the better.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, thank you for that
And
update.
I can tell you right now, the building's very dry inside. I have 0 of the units running, none of the fans are running, just the boilers running with the pumps. And when that was extremely cold last week, I walked through there, the building was about 55 degrees, between 50 and 55 degrees, and of course, each floor was a little bit warmer going up through. So
Okay.
we're maintaining the building very well in the current condition, with just the pumps running and the boilers maintained a little. So I was very happy to see that when I walked in there.
Good. All right, next on the agenda is the update on our surplus asset disposition.
Okay, back in the fall, in committee, it was determined that we would scrap what was scrappable, junk what was no value, and move what would have future value for future use to BEC. The last time I checked, there's still some in Amity to go.
Yep, the high school basement is totally empty and gutted and organized. Aaron was kind of surprised when he walked down here. He's like, wow, we actually have a basement down here. I think I gave Kathleen about $110, $120 in cash for the little bit of scrap that we did scrap already. Washers and dryers and old, just anything we didn't make any sense to stack down by the garage. Once we put it in the trailer, it didn't make any sense not to just haul it right to the scrapyard.
Washers and
so-
dryers,
There were 6
From our
old washing machines and dryers in that basement.
like the kind of,
No, normal Maytag, just once they changed out from the home ec departments and they just put them in the basement. So,
depends how you say it.
save these.
so it didn't make any sense to haul them down to the garage and unload them, so we just took them right to the scrapyard. So we took very minimal stuff to the scrapyard, just the bigger stuff that we got, on the trailer with the tow motor that we could just take right down to the scrapyard. So, Amity, we started MTNF this week. We moved the tables, the computer tables that were in the basement to here for the Dr. Cooper's instructional room. We went over to Monocacy, took chairs out of there, that storage basement. We're up there as well, so we're reallocating some of the stuff that we can use. We just started tearing into Amity's basement, and there is a lot of trash down there. So the problem is getting around the back of the building with the truck, that we don't have to haul everything through the school with the students. So we were kind of waiting till the ground firmed up a little bit, so we didn't get truck stuck.
Band truck? Band truck?
Band
Is
truck.
that,
Yeah,
not like that's never happened.
yeah, so, so that's kind of why we're a little delayed on that. We just couldn't get around the back of the school. So hopefully this week with the cold and we'll be able to get a lot of the stuff out of
I
there.
have one question. How many years of stuff is down there?
The school's 15 years old, so
Okay.
15 years of stuff.
Wow.
I mean, there's 5 laminators in that basement right now.
Do any of them
Five.
work?
We checked all of them.
Yeah, some are just switches and stuff, so we're gonna look into the ones that are kind of together, because I know you guys need one for sure up there.
Cannibalized parts from,
That's what we're moving them to the side, and I told the guys, just move them to the side, and we'll start kind of seeing what's what. But, I mean, there must be 200 chairs in that basement,
Easily.
at least 200 chairs. There's probably 150 desks that don't work, that the tops don't stay up, or the legs are bent, or welds are broken. I don't know what to tell you. I just,
Yeah, this is a question.
yeah. But it took us about 2 weeks to get the high school done. The grounds crew from GCA did a phenomenal job. I just kind of pointed them in the right direction, said, get that out of here, get that out of here.
is that like in that commercial?
What's that?
Point.
Pretty much is what I did. I'm like, okay, that's junk, that's junk. We got Kathleen her pay per storage room, kind of thing. So it's nice. We're actually going to paint lines to keep a driveway open back to the cages where they store stuff. So we just didn't get that far
We're
yet.
missing paper.
We solved
And
that
there are
problem by
still
locking
3
it up.
classrooms, top floor here. Some of them are desks that Casey just described with the old gas shocks in them that are junk. But there are the old wooden desks that Dr. Cooper sat in second grade. Still upstairs here, that they're collector's items. But
Check for his name on
I
my
was just
car.
gonna say, see if any were scratched in gum there. or something.
we'll do a DNA check on the gum. But anyway, I say all that, I said at the time in the fall, there's far more than I think you'll ever need. So I believe we get it over there, we get it inventoried and determined. The auction firm across from the middle school is waiting to help us
Okay.
have a Saturday auction and get rid of what's
Yeah,
there.
we have all the books. All the books are at Birdsboro. So you have the gym full of books and the second floor hallway. The majority of half the hallway is full, so you can still get down. And one, I think, entire room is full of books.
The 23rd of
So-
February, Saturday, is when the book sale.
What are we doing there? Are we doing fill your bag for a
Yes.
buck or something?
Yes.
Routine?
Yes.
All right, that's good. I know a teacher that's going to go digging through there. Next, I can do this real quick, Casey. The high school rekey update. Thank you for your notes. 98% is complete. The courtyard doors were missed. That was not part of the original rekeys. Those cores have been ordered, including a few changes at the request of the high school administration. So that project is just about done. High school annex classroom door replacement update. All doors have been replaced. 2 deadbolt style lock cylinders had to be changed out, and we are waiting the parts for them to be done. So that project is,
That's done.
Basically
He was here
done.
Friday.
Okay.
He finished that up. So that's
So that's
that is
done.
complete.
trying to keep this moving. We have a lot.
Yep.
Train project update.
Just, there's one item that's on the agenda tonight, I think an adder, for the installation slash, crane work for the one unit, that was not approved, so. Other than that, once that's finally approved, Lauren has talked to, Subers about the contracts. There's a couple of things they need from me, and then the bonds, they did not include bonding with their proposal. But that, they can't get the bonding without a PO. So we have, the bonding will be just an added cost. It'll be 2% of the project. So that's the standard performance bond. So if you guys decide that you don't require the bonding, they do not have to get it. It is something that CoStars does recommend. But the school district does have the wherewithal to say, we don't want to spend that 2% for nothing. So if we trust Train, which I do, to get the project done,
Minute off.
that's something that you have to talk to Brian about it, just to make sure he's okay with that. But
We're paying for top of line, they should get
Yeah.
top of line service.
Every building has trains. We kind of swallowed the hook a long time ago.
right, I mean, when I did work at the college as a contractor, I had a $500,000 contract with them, but I only bonded $100,000 at a time for open work.
Right.
So, and that was at their discretion, and they could ask me for additional bonding if I was over that 100 grand, but it was not required. So I'm just throwing it out there.
I would lean towards making them have the bond just to
It's fine.
be safe. Because that's really our only recourse if
Correct.
they stop showing up.
No, absolutely.
With the bond. Annex gym bleachers up at the high school.
Just, there is a lot of trash being thrown behind those bleachers, and it's pretty disgusting behind there. We definitely need to do something about getting those out of there. So that's definitely something I think we need to get an RFP out. And I'm going to reach out to a couple of the school districts that had their bleachers removed. A lot of cabinet companies will come in and almost take it for nothing because it's Southern Yellow Pine that's 60 years old. If I was building a house, I'd take them out myself for my hardwood floors. I mean, seriously, it's some really nice wood, but it's just gross. I mean, it's just gross under there. So that definitely needs to happen sooner than later. Whether we just take it out ourselves and stack the wood down in the garage, down at the lower part of the property, and just get them out of there this summer. But I mean, it is gross underneath there.
They're still locked out, right?
They're still locked. You can't open them. We'd have to unscrew the boards and open them, and then you can take them apart pretty easily. It's just,
I think it's good to get an RFP, just have someone come in and get them out instead of us moving them and then trying
Especially
to
if you
figure out
know
what we do with
people that
them.
have the contacts that, they're, like you said, a cabinet maker from Amish country, they'll come up there. They took our barn of the company where we used to work, and they came in, disassembled the whole thing, took all the wood.
Yep.
Didn't cost us anything.
I can't buy them all, but I'll buy some.
Next, Casey's the stadium bleacher repair costs.
Okay, we had last year where the Boone Squad sits, we had one of the bleachers planks come loose and came down. Luckily, nobody was hurt. I got the new hardware, put the hardware in, tying everything up that was loose that we found. That happened again this year during a game. This time they actually pulled the anchor bolts out of the aluminum track on the bleachers themselves. So the plank now has a twist in it. There's two other planks that go like this. Yeah, from them jumping up and down that go like this. I forwarded you guys the quote. It's $12,000 and some odd cents for the three. It's a 33-foot plank. We need three of them. They're going to come in. The manufacturer rep will come in, replace the planks. They will go across all of the hardware in that area. They will climb underneath the bleachers and do a thorough bleacher inspection of that whole side. And pretty much when they walk away, they're telling us everything's good to go.
Is that something they can recommend resolution so it doesn't reoccur? Or besides
Not
telling
have
the kids don't jump up?
on the band. The whole thing is your walkway area are 3 tongue and groove aluminum planks. All right, they're tongue and groove for support. The bleacher benches are just a bench. So between those supports, when the kids are jumping, or when you walk across them, they flex. It's aluminum, so two of them have a nice little wave look to them. So that there's no sense leaving them in there.
Are they safe?
As they are now.
No, once they're mounted properly, even if they're a little wavy, are they safe?
I don't know what cracks may be in there. That's my concern. I can't see inside.
They're
the
going to
plank.
bend them again. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
Just
and
make
that's
sure they're
why I'm
secure.
bringing this up, because the $12,000. I think we need to kind of tell them, if you're going to be jumping on the bleachers, jump on the planks and not on the bench, kind of thing. I think it needs to be enforced, because my big concern is, luckily nobody got hurt.
Right.
I mean, that's the big thing. You have a 33-foot plank and half of it twisted and came down, and those kids came down with it. We had nobody get injured. That's so great that no one got hurt. That's my concern. I don't want to see the kids get hurt. So that's why I'm bringing it up. So I think it's something we need to reinforce.
Okay.
When do you need a decision on that? I mean, by the time you order parts or?
Well, they had a special order coming in for somebody else. They brought the planks in because it didn't cost anything in freight. So the planks are at Southern Bleacher in their warehouse. They said, if you guys don't use them, we'll sell them to somebody else, but they have them.
Make a recommendation, yeah.
You know, they have them. They do. You know.
We get them on there before the spring.
Mr. Spores was standing over at the Balloon Spot section all night from now on.
Sorry.
Little
And
lapel
Aaron,
mic.
you know, we've had that conversation, and, you know.
Do you want that, when do you want that work to be done? Casey?
I was
When do you want
impressed,
that
I thought you were
recommendation?
Secret Service.
If we can get it on tonight, it would be great, because they're kind of chomping on the bit to get it out of their warehouse. It doesn't have to be, we can have it on, in next month's.
And what was the, I think it'd be good
It's 12,000
next month, I just think
for
dropping the
something or
12,000
other.
in
Yeah.
front of it.
I'll get it sent out to everybody.
Yeah, get it sent out, we'll definitely have it on the agenda
Okay.
next month.
Just, give them, I think you're pretty safe to say that the intent is that we're gonna do it.
Correct.
Yeah, it has to be.
And they knew
Guess there's
that.
no way they can beef it up.
No,
Yeah, you would
yeah.
think it's not uncommon to have people jumping on bleachers.
Yeah.
That-
Not on the seats.
What it is, it's a 3/8 bolt that goes on a diagonal nut. When you tie in that bolt, that nut wedges in that aluminum track. So if that started getting loose and we just didn't know it, I think that's why the aluminum had enough flex there that aluminum then tore out.
Okay.
You know, kind of
So
thing.
that's something that every couple of years we should go in.
I
and
think
make sure it's-
I'm gonna start just having the guys check it after every game, just do a walk down through and just make sure certain areas are fine and dandy, you know, kind of thing, so. But that's that.
All right. Next thing on the agenda is the River Rock Classroom Admin Office Door Replacement Costs.
So, last meeting I brought it up, you guys had asked me to get 3 prices. AG Morrow was the cheapest by about $2,300 for each area, so about a total of about $5,000 across the whole project on a $21,000 project. There again, you know, our admin area does not necessarily have to be done. We definitely have some locking handles issues that we need to address, that are going to be addressed with the doors, but, you know, we can definitely leave our doors as is to save some cost, but we definitely have some door handles that need to be replaced on the admin side. There again, it is your guys' call on this side, you know, with you know, the students being down on this side. There again, we need to do some handles. We would have to replace all of the handles down in this area anyway, because only about half of them lock anymore. So you're looking $450 for the handle and the 2 cores that we would need for that. An additional, it's about $500 or $600 for the door installed. So I'm looking for a recommendation from you guys on that one. You know, our admin area definitely can wait. Our doors are solid and in good shape. It's just, you know, we definitely need some door handles. So I actually ordered the handles. It's just something that'll get taken out of the project if we do the project up there.
Wait,
So,
I think the rationale's the same, because when we did it at the high school, to get rid of all those doors with those louvered bottoms so they can't kick it out, you know, we have students over in this building too, as other districts, so it's really, it's protecting the
It's a
students,
safety-
so,
it's a
yeah.
student safety issue.
So,
Whether they're Daniel Boone students or not, we have to treat them as safe as anybody else.
The only question is that lease is up end of this year, right? So I believe, is it end of this year that?
I believe so. I had that folder in my hand when I started down here, and I put it back on my desk.
Does that sound right, Kathleen?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. So,
When
I mean,
would-
we should be having a discussion anyway with them about renewing, right? So I just want to make sure we have people here that are going to be, you know.
good point, yeah, good point.
well, that brings up the next point. I'll just jump in here real quick. Annex, the front entrance discussion for River Rock. They have asked me to get pricing on installing a set of double doors at the end of this hallway at the front entrance and a set of double doors going down this way, with the intent that they would have key card access on them, with the intent that those doors would be locked at all times. So when people come in, they cannot just go down those hallways. They're kind of forced to go into our admin or you know, kind of thing. There's a lot of options that we can do there. I had talked to Steve Loomis from Amity Township. He doesn't feel that it's an easement issue, an egress issue if we put the double doors there, but he'd want to look at it anyway. The other part is if River Rock's lease is coming up, maybe we have a discussion with them about redoing this front entrance, making one half River Rock, one half Boone Admin, because now when they ring the buzzer, you know, Michelle's a pay, just, it's in the morning, it's just constant, you know. when- Huh?
Over in the River Rock office as well.
Right, but she gets it kind of first. 'cause-
She gets it most
yeah.
of the time, but I mean,
Right.
whereas they do have
Yeah.
that buzzer over
We do
there.
have that buzzer, but there again, it's a,
We have that put in.
you know, people coming in and out kind of thing, you know, coming in.
And at
after
that
hours
time,
and
then
stuff.
we'd put the door, what we want to do, we'd do it all in one.
All at one
fell
time,
swoop.
and that would be a conversation
Is
with
that
them.
entryway on the, and concrete on the kind of schedule? to get
Well,
rid
that
of?
would be the whole thing, because we had discussed doing that concrete 2 years ago, I think it was, and it got shot
Part of
down
the whole
because of
project.
it. Yeah.
And the doorways we're talking.
Yeah, it would be doorways, adding, you know, kind of bumping the vestibule into the lobby farther. So then that way they would come in and enter the office and then enter the other office. You know, we have to open up, kind of like we did the high school, open the wall up, put a door in, so they would have to enter into that office. So I think it's a conversation we need to have with them.
I mean, their lease is up, but you would think we could pretty much find out pretty quickly if they plan on staying.
Correct. And I think they are, because that was a conversation that they had brought up with me.
Okay.
So,
It'd be nice to get that squared away.
yeah.
You're on a roll, keep on moving.
All right, annex gym door replacements. The annex gym doors are besides the band room doors, are the last set of old-style doors that really need to be replaced. They have the vertical rods on the panic bars. They're the latch half the time. Probably it might even be less than that. Jeff Scott loves when I talk about doors.
We hate doors
So
and,
I'm so
doors
glad.
and, doors and clock systems.
Yeah, doors and clock systems.
Tell your
So-
kids, go to school and start
So,
your business.
for security reasons, that is, I had my contractor in to remeasure the doors to get updated pricing, so I'm just letting you guys know, next meeting I will have that for discussion,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
District-wide parking lot, macadam discussion there again. I will be bringing contractors in to get accurate pricing for crack sealing, of all of the parking lots. That is in desperate need. So you'll be having, the next month or two, you'll be seeing pricing for that as well. I have a basic estimation, cost from E.J. Brenneman, that's about 2 years old, based on, 14,000 foot of cracks. This is what the cost would be, kind of thing, so,
Some of them
are huge.
if they're a cavern,
Yep.
somebody's gonna hurt their, I mean, I know over at the middle school, if a woman's walking with a heel, even if it's a square heel, she's going in it.
And those are the narrow ones. We filled the wide ones. We had some at the middle
Really
school that were an inch and a
amazing
half wide.
Wide, yeah.
So that's that. A lot of these are just priced, the intermediate playground equipment replacements.
Thank you.
That equipment is 15 years old. They recommend replacement 10 to 15 years old. We had the slide crack and break. We've had the bridge now, has failed. The bolts that hold the bridge planks together, it's a bolt with like a big round grommet that has worn through the metal and actually has torn the metal at 2 spots. So I'll begin pricing from the manufacturer on replacement of the exact equipment. So that way we're not changing anything in poles or anchoring or anything like that. But it's all the UV light is just has chewed them up.
Just so you know, Mr. Spores handled the public art project.
Yep, I heard that when I came in. The primaries camera discussion, we received oops, sorry.
Well, we don't have any, there's nothing that, you can see that can be moved over.
It's not the
Oh,
same
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yep, no problem. I thought of the same things. We even have a playground back here, but it doesn't match up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna double check that, but I don't believe it matches up.
There's not much over at BC, like 2
Yeah.
things up top.
Primary camera discussion, Mr. Hurley applied for and received a $25,000 grant. The basis of that grant was to install a camera system at Monocacy. It is going to cost more than 25 grand to install that camera system. I'm going to try to do as bare bones as I can to get coverage for those spaces. There are 2 ways I'm going to look at it. One is a conventional way to match what we have software-wise at the high school. and at the middle school. So we have the same software platform for that. There is a newer platform out there. It's made by Meraki, who is Cisco. It is a web-based camera. It's like a mini computer. The camera is a mini computer. Everything is stored on there. All we need is a Cat5 cable to an IP address, and everything's hosted on the cloud, 100% on the cloud. So their cameras are more expensive. You buy the license with each camera based on how many years that license is, not like our software programs that once we buy the license for a camera, we have it, kind of thing. So Meraki offers 1, 3, 5, 7, and 10-year licenses for the cameras. So there again, the downfall is after 5 years, if you have to buy, you have to buy the license over again. So I just got to sit down and put both systems side by side and really run like a 10, 15, 20-year cost analysis as to what our true costs are going to be. Kind of
You working with Scott on that?
yeah, and Scott likes it because no servers hosted here. There's no NVRs here. There's nothing here. It is 100% in the cloud. You log into a website, you log in with your stuff, and your cameras come up. Reading School District has about 620 of their cameras installed over the last 3 years, 3 to 4 years. So we actually had Reading School District's network administrator do a presentation for the Berks County facility managers last month, and the equipment is pretty phenomenal. So that's that. I'm just going to hit the American Legion one last. District-wide outside light control. We did the freezers through Train. I know you guys love Train. We currently have about 10 time clocks, the normal pin-style time clocks throughout the buildings that control our outside lights. So I would really like to get rid of those because every time we have any type of an issue, a pin can fall out or daylight savings, and we're trying to set it, by a dial kind of thing. So I'll get you. I think we have a proposal for it, but I want to kind of finalize it with them, with everything else going on, to see if we can get some savings on that. Because I had them kind of bid everything as an individual job, just because I didn't know what all we were doing. So
Just so you know, Casey, ABM gave their update first.
okay. And then the American Legion, formerly Optimus Baseball Field. For the people here that aren't aware of it, the whole crew that's back there is part of the American Legion Baseball and the American Legion Post. Had a meeting with them 2 weeks ago. They have taken over the management of the Optimus Field. That is the field along 724 that the borough owns. They have been gracious. The American Legion has been gracious in giving the baseball club a $25,000 check to have a joint account with them to do field improvements. Our high school team plays all of their games there. Our high school team practices there. The field currently is not unplayable, but it's getting unsafe with the size of the grass slips on the dirt infields and stuff like that. So we had a meeting 2 weeks ago, and we discussed kind of the history as to who used to do maintenance, who does it now, kind of who the players are now as to the baseball crew and that kind of stuff. So the fact that we as a school district play our games there, and Aaron, as you know, there's been conversations with the borough as to what our obligation is for maintenance on that field. So I've kind of volunteered my services to the Legion and said I'll kind of spearhead the renovation and repair of the field to make sure their $25,000 are spent correctly and wisely. So we actually have a meeting this Thursday night at 6:30 for the next step as to the first one was kind of a little overwhelming, I think, for some people that we kind of were throwing so many facts and so much information around. Everybody kind of left there like, wow, but the fact that the American Legion has ponied up $25,000, I mean, that's awesome. So, we as a school district will have some type of maintenance requirement there. So I'm looking, you guys as a board to say, are we going to assist with maintenance during the baseball season only? Are we going to take certain roles down there as to always mowing the grass for them? And that's kind of what Lauren needs to know, so that can be put in the RFP for the outsourcing. We currently, it's not included in the contract. I talked to Mike Marino the other day in passing, who's their grounds kind of supervisor, and I said, what have you been instructed to do? He said, I've been told that I drag it and line it for games. So ABM will be doing that at least until their contract expires, or at least till the end of the high school baseball season, but they will not be doing any mowing, any trimming of that unless it's an added cost for the school district. I asked Halter Landscaping, who currently assists ABM with the mowing and who we use for our snow removal. It is about $95 to $100 to do a mowing and a trimming for that property each time. Of course, during the growing season, we would have them mow it twice to keep it where it needs to be for games. So there'll be a lot more information forthcoming. Anybody want to I can kind of introduce, I don't know all the names, Denise Harner. She is the lady that spearheaded the Vietnam Wall. She is who I dealt with through that whole process. Wonderful lady, great to deal with. I forget your name, sir. And then
Mike Bear.
Okay, and then you have John Picaretti there. Detweiler, yes. Just sorry for drawing a blank. And Dennis is in the glasses, and I forget your name, Bruce. So they are the four gentlemen standing in the back are the baseball crew. Everybody sitting in the front is the American Legion crew that came out tonight. So you'll be hearing more from me on that one, but we definitely need to decide as to what maintenance we're going to.
Who cuts it now?
Right here.
They do.
And roughly $10,000. That's basically what we spend a year to cut. Just for the cutting, just for the grass cutting. You have to cut it twice a week from March till October.
Especially this year with all the rain.
I'm including gas and everything. Yeah, well.
Use their own equipment too.
We use our own equipment.
The same mower they use to cut their house.
4 or 5 of us show up and we just.
Who's using the field during the summer and?
Same kids. The junior legion and senior legion baseball would be varsity and the junior.
Okay, so they're out there doing the.
Yeah. Yeah, so that, and the Legion baseball goes to about the beginning of August, correct, guys? If I'm not mistaken. So, our students, if you want to say that, are pretty much on that field from the time the snow melts until almost the leaves start falling, kind of thing. So, so like I said, that conversation is, we need to make a decision. Is I'm not saying tonight, but the decision needs to be made very soon as to. What the school district will consider their responsibility with that maintenance.
Are you guys going to give us a proposal? Like a
When you say you
recommendation
guys,
or like, well, I don't know.
So Lauren needs to know what to put out the bid, right?
Yeah, I think we
Well,
would.
that and, like, a recommendation as to what we feel is an equitable responsibility for the district. Like, I don't know that any of us can sit here and go, we should be responsible for X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Like, I'd rather have you guys say, hey, I think
Well, I
you
mean,
guys
the
should
American-
pony up for this,
Right.
and then explain why, and then we can say, okay, that makes sense, and then go
Yep.
with it. I think if you leave
And
it up to
that's-
us, it's just gonna slow the process.
Yep, and that's why they're here. So they can kind of hear what you guys want.
Like,
from that.
25,000 sounds like a lot until he says it costs 10 grand to cut it. And then I'm going, okay, well, all of a sudden 25,000 doesn't seem like that much anymore.
It's not, when a mail costs 12 to 1,500 just for material.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just a,
Yeah, so who's doing all the infield mix? Who's paying for all that? You guys?
a bag at infield mix, what, Casey, $80 to $100
Yeah,
bag?
and the thing is that they have so much. The problem, and I'm not going to fault anybody for this, is they just added dirt and added dirt and added dirt to that field for the last 7-8 years.
Didn't grade it.
And that dirt now is probably a good 4 to 6 inches higher than it needs to be. So that
Can we save it?
Yeah, we would. Just to let you guys know, the conversation we had the first night, just throwing some ideas around, is my idea going into it would be to have the field surveyed, or just somebody go down with a transit and shoot it, because some of the surveying costs I got back are just way too high for what we only need. To get a basic idea of where we're at elevation wise, I can tell you by just pulling a string, it's a 6-inch shave job on that dirt. So we would come in the side gate with a skid loader, shave all that dirt, stockpile it, make sure the dirt that's underneath is still good, that they didn't build that field high just when they build it, because they didn't want to dig down. You know, we have to make sure that the sub base is good. The thought is go back about 3-4 feet into the grass, get rid of that grass, and then get your elevations where they need to be, and then sod the edges so they can use that this spring. Probably wouldn't have practices there depending on the winter, but you would definitely have games there kind of end of April, start of May, as long as you sod it. And then come fall, see where your wet spots are in the field, in the outfield and stuff like that, where you know you have low spots. Address them in the fall when all the baseball seasons are over, dig it, put in drain tile, seed it, topsoil it, seed it, and then just let it grow rather than spend the money for sod in the fall. Because we don't want to have to water if we don't have to, because it takes time. Somebody would have to go down there in the fall and do it, if you sod it. So that's kind of the thoughts. Is that's the kind of the minimal expense at this point.
Does the field generate any revenue?
Minimal. We have a snack bar.
But like, do you do tournaments and things
Well,
like
that's
that?
all
nature?
part of this.
You can't.
Okay.
With the way it states now, I mean,
Okay.
it's tough to get people to watch it for free.
We actually have to walk the field occasionally with PIAA, and sometimes they go, I don't know. They can technically say, we're not playing.
Right.
So yeah, you could, revenue generation, absolutely.
If you
If you
did,
did a
if you
few
did the
things,
proper things in the field.
Just as an example, I don't know how many people have ever been to Owl's Field up in West Lawn. They do D3, D2 tournaments, and they roughly get 15 grand a weekend. Just because they host
Yeah.
local D2, D3 at a, not no home field advantage,
Right.
neutral.
Is that one field, or they have several fields?
One
Just
field.
one field? Yeah.
Yeah, they charge for parking, everything, and it's a community thing up there. So one entity's charging for the parking, they're taking care of the parking lot. Another entity's doing a snack bar on Saturday. Another one does it on Sunday. And then,
Like, that should be part of your recommendation, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Like, if you said, hey, if you invest, this is what we think we can get out of it, I think that would help. That would definitely help. Because even if it's
Second meeting too, we kind of get all the ideas, find out what the true cost could be on that, lay that out, what you pay for, what the cost to cut it,
Soon.
and sit down in a room and just work it out where it makes sense for everybody. I think that would be probably easy to do.
Yeah, like I said,
Right,
our
right.
first meeting was 2 weeks ago.
Right.
No, I'm just saying.
Right, I'm just- yeah.
That would be a better way to approach it than
Yep.
to
Yeah,
Well, I
say,
think it's,
tell us what you want to
That's
spend.
the kind
Certainly.
of that's the kind of backfield we need.
Yeah.
yeah,
Properly put a plan together, so.
makes sense.
we are 7 minutes away from the next meeting, so does anybody have anything? Otherwise, I'll dismiss so you can take a bathroom break and go to the next one. All right. Nothing?
Anything on DEC in the church?
Executive session.
Okay.